Everybody's laughing at America.
Here's Trump's problem. The rest of the world isn't the Republican Party. The rest of the world has a spine. McConnell, Cruz, Rubio, Vance, Jordan, etc. There's more testosterone in Tinkerbell than this compilation of weak-kneed sycophants. Fat Donnie thinks he can threaten Mexico and Canada with tariffs, and especially Canada. Since Trump can't speak Spanish, he's not sure if he threatened Mexico or told his gardeners to hide from ICE.
That's disgusting.
After the election, Justin Trudeau, the Canadian Prime Minister, visited Trump in Mar-a-Lago to make the case against the tariffs that everyone from Goldman Sachs to the Wall Street Journal think are horrible. You know, those liberal rags. They all said it would decimate the U.S. economy. In fact, Trudeau was saying the same thing in the days before the election. Trump got elected on a commitment to make life better and more affordable for Americans, and I think people south of the border are beginning to wake up to the reality that tariffs on everything from Canada would make life a lot more expensive. And then Trump, the sphincter that he is, tweeted,
"It was a pleasure to have dinner the other night with Governor Justin Trudeau of the great state of Canada. I look forward to seeing the governor again soon so we may continue our in-depth talks on tariffs and trade, the results of which will be truly spectacular for all, DJT."
Canada as a state? Okay, first of all, Canadians look at America like an educated person views professional wrestling. It's brutish, boorish, and you can't believe they think it's real.
President-elect Donald Trump has picked WWE co-founder Linda McMahon to be the education secretary.
This is just such a strange story. And from the reporting, it sounds so insulting. You could just be the 51st state. What is Donald Trump's relationship with one of our closest allies? Why does he treat people like Justin Trudeau with such apparent disdain?
Because he feels like he can. I mean, I think this is basically this is essentially why he has the appeal that he does from his supporters, which is a sense of bluster, a sense of incredible dismissiveness over someone he considers inferior, someone Americans consider to be this sort of a fat neighbor to the north. And frankly, just, you know, it's kind of the law of the jungle. I mean, we are bigger than you. We are stronger than you. You rely on us more than we rely on you. And therefore, I can push you around like this.
Does Trump have leverage? Good question. Will the Republicans again bend over and let him plow their bums for another 4 years?
We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world.
Well, here in the U.S., it would appear to be true that Trump has again successfully conned these Americans.
I might hate it to give overtime. I hated it. I'd get other people, I shouldn't say this, but I'd get other people in, I wouldn't pay. I hated it.
But what happens if and when Trump imposes a tariff, passes a national abortion ban, stops funding for Ukraine, allows Gabbard to handle national intelligence, puts this sex fiend in the Defense Department?
Because he had a child with someone that works for him, who then became his third wife. And in the meantime, he's drunkenly, doing whatever with the woman, Jane Doe, who's alleged sexual assault, and what he says is consensual at a hotel in California. That he's under the age of 40. I mean, I'm not judging anybody that's been divorced or whatever. Like, this guy's life is a disaster.
And let's RFK run our nation's health and human services? Good question. Trudeau made the visit because he's a man who puts his country first. And Melania has a secret crush, too. Like most smart people, Trudeau sees the real Trump, a grifter capitalizing on Americans' abundance of stupid and lazy. So did Merkel, Macron, Putin, and Xi. Trump is as predictable as a bowel movement and equally offensive.
I want to delve into one of your signature promises on the campaign trail, which was to end inflation, to lower prices. You are now proposing tariffs against the United States' three biggest trading partners. Economists of all stripes say that ultimately consumers pay the price of tariffs.
I don't believe
Can
it.
you guarantee American families won't pay more?
Okay, one more time, Diaper Donnie. Here's how tariffs work. Say China's selling a car for 10 grand. We put a 25% tariff on the car. The car then sells for $12,500. You buy it, and that $2,500 goes to the U.S. Treasury. You know, the swamp. You were just taxed 25%. That means you have 25% less to spend on products in the U.S. So businesses here who import Chinese goods have lower sales, so they lay people off who now have no money to buy goods or services, and the country slides into stagflation, which is both a recession and an inflationary period like the 1970s, when gas prices quadrupled and interest rates climbed to near 20%.
I can't guarantee anything. I can't guarantee tomorrow. But I can say that if you look at just pre-COVID, we had the greatest economy in the history of our country.
No, Trump's economy wasn't even the best in the century. Biden, Obama, and Bush all had higher GDPs and lower unemployment. Check it out.
And the reason some people think, wow, I don't know, I remember that economy when he first came in being pretty good. Yeah, it was pretty good, because it was my economy. We had 75 straight months of job growth that I handed over to him. It wasn't something he did.
And I had a lot of tariffs on a lot of different countries, but in particular China. We took in hundreds of billions of dollars, and we had no inflation. In fact, when I handed it over, they didn't have inflation for a year and a half. They went almost 2 years, just based on what I had created. And then they created inflation with energy and with spending too much. So
if Trump had paid attention at Wharton, he'd understand this. Inflation resulted from the post-pandemic recovery. Because production had shut down, supplies dwindled, and people had money from the federal government, so the demand exceeded the supply, the very definition of inflation.
Sir, your previous tariffs during your first administration cost Americans some $80 billion, and now you have major companies from Walmart, Black & Decker, AutoZone saying that any tariffs are going to force them to drive up prices for their consumers. How do you make sure that these CEOs, that these companies don't, in fact, pass on the cost of tariffs to their consumers?
they cost Americans nothing. They made a great economy for us. They also solve another problem. If we were going to have problems having to do with wars and having to do with other things, tariffs, I have stopped wars with tariffs. Drugs are pouring in at levels never seen before.
Donald Trump Jr.'s on cocaine.
Trump has no idea what he's talking about. As Trudeau said, however, the real victims won't be Canada or Mexico. It's going to be us. And combine Trump's threat to deport 12 million people, the very workers responsible for the agricultural and manufacturing sectors, and then add these tariffs, and you get inflation numbers we had in the 1970s, where a car loan had an 18% interest rate, and before you know it, you set the stage for 1929 all over again.
By the way, what happens does happen when you put tariffs on goods and you stop immigration and force migrants to leave in terms of wages?
Unless you're Hamilton, I'm kind of against it.
Isn't that going to be inflationary?
Of course. Course.
Is it a one-time, though, and then
smooth
you sort of
quality? I don't know. I mean, when you see tariffs like that, obviously you think about 1929.
And of course, tariffs aren't the only economic problems. Trump's friendship with Putin is a Pandora's box. Putin has relationships with Middle East terror groups, and should Trump defund Ukraine? How do you think NATO countries and Israel will respond when we ask for intelligence on groups who might mean America harm?
No, I would not protect you. In fact, I would encourage them to do whatever the hell they want. You got to pay.
While Trump can fool 70 million Americans, or maybe fool is the wrong word, invite along or welcome into his sick, depraved world of rape, robbery, insurrection, and graft, the rest of the world sees Trump for what he really is.
Yeah, look, Trump can't tell the difference between what's true and what's false. It's not that he lies a lot, because to lie, you have to do it consciously. He just can't tell the difference.
Canada and Mexico are like the neighbors above and below that apartment where the tenant is rude, loud, and arrogant, and the rest of the world lives across the street, fingers crossed, hoping America can survive Trump one more time.
Damn right.
This is not a normal election.
This isn't their Republican Party anymore.
Whether the women like it or not.
Suck my fat one.
Who's with me?
Trust me.
Shut the fuck up, Darren.
Who's with me?
Oh, yeah, the lie.
Indictable.
Out of sheer morbid curiosity, I'm allowing this freak show to continue.
I don't want to talk about this stuff.
Am I wrong?
Yes.
Tick-tock.
You're in a lot of trouble, Donnie.
I think he's crazy.
I'm Chip Franklin.